Hello there guys, just going to try and get a bit of an angle without dropping one's phone. I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll literally put that in front of me there. So anyway, I was going to come on live and I was going to come on my laptop, but it still won't let me access the camera, which makes it really difficult. So anyway, I'm just going to make sure my sound's up. Elijah is still drifting and like wanting his last bits, but Dean is in the middle room, but I think he's got his headphones on, but you might hear a clap or you might hear something. So anyway, I'm at home, so I'm in my personal little space. It's my home, and it wasn't until people understood remote working and having to be on lockdown did they understand what it was like, even trying to do live news with family at home, children at home. So bear with me, because obviously this is my personal home, my personal space, my personal life, but also my business. And in the world, we don't mix business with pleasure. And people battle silently with conditions when there is support and help. Here in the UK, I can't tell you what's available in any other country. I can only tell you what's available here in the UK because I live in the UK, but I do know that you've probably got some form of system, some things in place. And it's about pride. And it's about envy and jealousy. And it's those three things that cause absolute battles for people with, I haven't got my keys are in there, but I think, you know, the visual, the sunflowers. So people with hidden conditions, and not only that, people with actual physical conditions. I mean, people that you could walk down the road and go, there is something different about them. And sometimes you look at them and you think, okay, I can box that as autism. But it depends what your stereotype of autism is. Now, if it's the Rain Man, he was comorbid and he actually had 2 diagnoses. I can't remember what the other one was, but he wasn't just autistic. Say you've been in a car and you've been in a car crash and you've been pulled out, and there has to be, you've been injured and there's a rehabilitation period. Some people end up in comas, and while they're in comas, they might not be able to keep their finances going because they've leveraged their time for money. So they get paid to literally get up and go to work. And if they don't get up and go to work, they don't get paid. Because of COVID, people understand sick pay. What you all understand as, I got to get this right, furlong, whatever it was called. You understand that as what people understand as sick pay. Now, if, say, somebody works on a building site, take my dad for an example, but it won't like me talking about him personally, neither will my mum. She'll jump on my dad, they'll say things to him, and then they'll come back to me. So take just Bob the Builder granddads, right? It's all the Bob the Builder granddads that have worked their entire lives, and they literally get up to go to work, and they're usually in building construction, engineering, things like that. Yes, Women's Equality and Rights International Day. Yes, women do these jobs, do so. So let's have Bob the Builder granddad, and we can't call a woman a granddad though, because that's not really a granddad. Are we going to start calling transgenders granddads and granddads and nans? That's your battle, mate. Once they get past the adult of man and woman and become nans and granddads, that's your battle. So I wonder how they become nans and granddads when it's somebody else's bloodline. So it's up to the nans and the granddads to take the bloodlines back. So anyway, I'm here to do something completely different. And what I'm here to do is I actually have a personal independence payments thing. Yes, this is my address, so I'll just cover it up at the moment. This is my one. If I show something, it's usually a past address or a house that doesn't exist. So this is what's called a personal independence payment thing. And I'm literally going to sit here and go through the questions and write down the questions and do what's called a mind map, right? Now, I'm going to build up. So sorry to people who are not lost and lost syndrome, but you might find this either interesting if you are a perfect person with perfect health, with perfect wealth, with perfect relationships, with perfect life, with a perfect career, with a perfect husband or wife, with a perfect children and perfect family, and everything is just perfect. And you might sort of want to look at an imperfect life and see what it's like. And also, you might have to do this for your children, because PIP is available for over 18s and under 18s. So if your children have any condition... Now, personal independence payments back in 2010 used to be called disability living allowance. I said I don't want to sit under the disabled label. What I would like to do is, when we come to the system disabled, we should be rubber stamped as enabled. What we have in this system is something called direct payments, right? Now, this is for any person who has said condition or disability over 18 or under 18 and has a children's social care person, right? Now, what goes wrong in this system, and I'm working on it on another piece of paperwork. What goes on, if anyone knows what a CV is, ask yourself how many people have ever presented a CV to a social worker. Like, really, how many people have actually ever gone to a social worker who's come into their lives and gone, this is my CV. This is who I am. Prior to any diagnosis, prior to any condition, prior to any label, this is who I am, okay? Nobody does this. Now, the reason that people don't do this, and I want to do something at the moment, is I want to stick to this, but I want to do this as well. And I want to also, I haven't cleared my residual. I've still got some of the Skittles from the boys playing Skittles on the floor. I haven't done the washing up yet. I've done one of my monster juices and I've got a coffee. So at the end of the day, if somebody's got a condition, in one of the magazines, they did an article, right? And they wrote something that I said, but said and took it out of content. And I said, if people are on benefits, why don't they brush their hair? I have come to learn to understand why people on benefits stop basic hygiene and maintenance. The irony. Now, anyway, I've been onto the council with the fact that I'm bringing a High Court class action, and people know this is coming, and it is coming, people. Please bear with me as I have going from just the pink sofa that you saw on a photograph sat outside, and the black sofa that I'm sitting on here now, which has had an uplift on of sofa covers that I found, to literally sitting here with a pen, a pad, stuff that I've got to deal with personally that I can help you with as I go along it. And also me understanding where my breakdown of communication was with people once Aaron and Faith had been taken, and also the lead up to it as well. And the problem is, you had Kellie, who had a Audi A4, and it was an Avis rent a car. Now, it wasn't a Motability car. It was an Avis rent-a-car. And the reason that it was an Avis rent-a-car is because in this world, we either save and buy. What the said Great Reset is all about is you will own nothing and be happy. That's their philosophy, basically, right? Now, one of the things that, say, obviously you've got people who are on universal credits, and they're on universal credits because everybody's basically been exchanged over from income support and onto universal credits, right? So they're on universal credits. But the Great Reset is bringing in a fundamental, every single person, not because you're vulnerable, not because you're lost your job or anything like that, They're bringing a one-size-fits-all that means that your basic fundamental needs are always met. So anything that you work and obtain for is basically yours. But the philosophy with that is that you will own nothing. So you will not own your home. And you would just be a rental, which is basically like being private rental or council. But that means that you wouldn't be able to purchase your home. However, not any person who purchases their home is actually really the true landowner anyway, because personally, from my understanding and my belief, no one person owns the planet, yeah? So no one person owns the land. No one person owns the land, basically. Now, because we have what's called sovereignty in terms of a queen here who oversees Great Britain, and she oversees other continents. But here I can only talk about Great Britain. Because we have Queenie, and she says that she owns all these properties and her people can basically play a game of Monopoly and buy, rent, and rent then goes into paid by the person or paid by a Department of Working Pensions set of things that have grown and changed over time to help and support people so we don't have it on the streets. Let me put this way, right? Okay. Say with one of my things that I wanted to do, and if anyone wants to build or get this done or run with it, go with it. One of the things that I wanted to be able to do, and I was thinking about something with this today, and it wasn't originally one of my ideas. It actually came, I built upon and worked with somebody who's actually on the streets, who'd given me something else to sort of think about, but I'd sort of gone, oh, actually, this could really grow. And I would always bring it back to this person anyway, because he gave me it on writing, so, and I still have this. So anyway, said London, Bristol, Brighton, Manchester, Liverpool, blah, 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 all the big cities, yeah. If you had a sky-rise, 5-star luxury fucking space, yeah, and it was like literally 5-star. It was Tong Shing Dong, like a hotel, proper hotel, 5-star, yeah. And if you literally had it, so you literally came in and you had courtiers and you were treated, it didn't matter whether you came in from any form of life, okay? Now, the question is, when do you test somebody for drugs and alcohol, okay? Now, if you're in the army, if you're in the police, if you're in certain jobs, part of that job contract is that you are not allowed to use any drugs, alcohol, blah, 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 and you will be drug tested, yeah? And they can do drug tests on you whenever they like, right? You sign up to that contract because you chose that job, you went into that field, and you knew and you stepped into that. If you enter into this building, you only know that you go through those tests. Now, depending on your level, depends how high up that building you go. If you are completely wankered and intoxicated, like my said friend Graham, you would go all the way up to the top, and it would still be a 5-star penthouse, okay? Basically, you work all the way down to completely setting up breakfast, blah, 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 blah. You get to use gym, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, this alone, the problem with people who have mental health. Now, I'm talking about physical conditions here. And what I've been basically saying to everybody is I have a physical condition, okay? Now, the problem is money is in mental health. Now, all of my conditions sit under physical. None of my conditions sit under mental health. However, they like this word called comorbid. And they all go, but it must affect your mental health. Okay, yes, it affects my mental health. If you're thinking on a scale of my mental health as a positive. So my mental, so mental as in my mind. So my mind, okay? But it's health, okay? And if you find that you're pondering on things and you're pondering on things a bit too much, or you find that your reality of what you're trying to do, and then all of a sudden your mind is hindering what you're doing, if that is hindering you to the point of thing that you're not doing it, the question that I'm asking the system and the question that I'm asking people is, the system is about, can you wipe your own ass? Can you shower? Can you cook? Now, we live in a world now where things are so different, and unfortunately, just to remind people back to lockdown that I said that they would start finding people dead in apartments, that's going to start happening, okay? That's going to really start happening with people who'd commit suicide, people who didn't come out to get diabetes medication, people who didn't come out to get things. It's how you prioritize your health needs. Now, what we tend to do here in society is go, well, so-and-so is worse off than you. Because so-and-so is worse off than you, or so-and-so or whatever country is starving, we tend to compare ourselves to other people all the time. And then what we don't do is meet our own needs, and we sacrifice. And when I say, if mum's not right, the home's not right. If mum's not right, your partner's not right. If mum's not right, the family's not right. If mum's not right, the kid's not right. If mum isn't also who she truly is, and I'm talking the person behind the mum mask, yeah? And the problem is with people like myself is I'm a teenage mother, yeah? And because of becoming a teenage mother, and also because of things that I went through as a child, you lose that sort of natural tendency of growth and discovering, and there's things that people get to do that other people don't get to do. And I don't, whether it's within the education system or outside the education system, it doesn't matter. I tend to find most of that is outside the education system with people's hobbies and things, because prior to becoming a mum, and I mean prior to be getting into such a relationship that deemed for that to happen, I had lots of stuff going on. Then comes the responsibility of making sure that you've got nappies and baby wipes and milk and all of these things that come with having a baby. And then obviously as they get older and blah, 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 blah. I've had to make a decision about living the last 7 years in my own pride, probably, because social care, when I first got here, and housing offered to do my PIP form for me, right? And it was like, I really don't want to go down that road. I really don't want to go down that road where I've got to deal with the public that if I'm skating, they go, oh, but she's got a Motability car. I'm ringing Department of Work and Pensions and I'm reporting out and I'm getting the camera and stuff. Because I've been through an investigation before, yeah? And that's how I'll become an escort. Because I literally, back at this time when the investigation went on this form, you've got to have somebody who knows you well and knows how your condition affects you. And back then, it was my ex-husband. And he was away in Canada at the time when this come through, but he had already written it but not signed it. So I signed it on his behalf. While on the phone, I said, you haven't done it. He said, sign it for us. And it went in. Sorted, everything done. It took quite a while to go through, not a problem. But when we divorced, he went, oh, that's not my signature. And it was like, okay, so then this caused an investigation into me and blah, 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 blah. And all it was is because someone like me, and Pete, doesn't matter whether it's mental health, it doesn't matter if learning difficulty or physical health, the GP, the general practitioner, will do like a active health thing. I can't remember what it's called at the moment. 2 seconds. I can't remember what it's called at the moment. But basically you get to see a personal trainer and they'll write a plan for you. And then you go back to the doctors and see how you're doing, basically. And then, so someone like me can get the gym and a personal trainer, yeah? Now, the challenge with someone like me is my condition. Now, I've got my laptop in front of me. My condition results in... I was going to put something on really, really, really quickly while I can. I don't know how my laptop's going to cope with this or Facebook, because whenever I use anything in the background, it has to check whether or not it's got permission to do this. Just to say, while I shut this window down, PIP is done basically in daily and Motability parts. So how it affects you daily and then how it affects you Motability. But when I was in court with Aaron and Faith, and it was on my trial date, I asked to play a video. Why is it going to ask me to play? And also, when I got involved with all this disability rights campaigning through, like, people in the Spartacus report and everything to do with Leeds Northallerton Hospital, with Professor Bird closing down, and what was going to happen in 2010, which is all online, it's all on papers, Restores. So it was Northallerton Hypermobility Clinic in Leeds, and they were all worried about what wasn't even worried. I actually have a letter that says that due to, obviously, there was a flux to Manchester, and it was whether we couldn't get in, basically. So basically, me, Liam, I think it was just Aaron, not necessarily Faith, I was pregnant or something, couldn't get in to Manchester Hospital because there was such a flux of patients, and there wasn't enough specialists. Now, when I first started my whole journey to get to the specialists, it was Professor Bird and Professor Graham, and they were like Tom Swam Dong. There was only really one book on managing, and there was a couple of other people in there. And obviously, you want the best for your children, don't you? So, but the challenge was there wasn't really anybody. I just want to play something. Don't look sick. Let me just see something. Is it Ella Ray? Ella Ray. It's not long. It's not long. It's only short. Oh. Oh, one of my favourites just come off, but it's not this. Hang on. Rudimental. When he, on the video, and he gets back up from having his leg off, and it's like, you know, you need your friends. EDS, I don't look sick. Now I've got it. Right, so let me just turn my laptop around a minute.
My name's Ray. I'm 24 years old, and I live... My name's Ray. I'm 24 years old, and I live every day in excruciating pain. It's not because I got into an accident or injured myself or anything. I was just born this way. I have a chronic pain disease called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a connective tissue disorder that's caused by a defect in the way my body produces collagen. If you don't know, collagen is the stuff that, well, basically holds your entire body together. Without that, you get loose, unstable joints, severe bruising, heart disease, flat feet, and painful walking, velvety, smooth skin that stretches, tears, and is painful to touch, severe headaches, low muscle tone, severe muscle weakness, and chronic widespread pain. There is no cure, and the treatment is supportive at best. I was diagnosed pretty young. When I was really little, my parents kept having to rush me to the emergency room because my joints would become dislocated at, the slightest touch. I would just be playing with my brothers, and then suddenly there was a crack and a blinding pain, and then I couldn't move my arms anymore. I would scream and cry and scream some more, partially out of pain and partially because it was terrifying. It happened so often that the hospital called child services on my parents because they thought I was being abused when really it was just my disease. It wasn't until years later, when my little brother, Benjamin, died suddenly from heart complications, that we were sent to a geneticist, and that's when they found it. Not only was I diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome type 3, but they found that I had a hole in my heart, and if I didn't have heart surgery, I wouldn't live long. I was scheduled for emergency heart surgery, and the rest is a blur. Doctors, surgeries, hospital visits, medicines, and pain, and maybe it's because it all happened so fast, or maybe it's just because I want to forget. The best way I can describe what Ehlers-Danlos is like, it's kind of like being a doll. A doll whose stitches are slowly coming undone, and then the doll just kind of falls apart. The collagen in a healthy person's body acts as stitches to keep everything in place, but I don't have that. My stitches are flimsy and worn and are slowly being stretched beyond what they can handle, and it won't really be long before they come completely undone and I can't move at all. Do you realize how terrifying that is? I don't know how much time I have left, how much longer I can walk or stand, or use my hands to draw, to paint, to play the piano. Making art and music is my whole life. How can I live in a world where I can't create? People chastise me all the time for being an overachiever, for trying too hard, wrecking the curve and all that. But they don't realize that I do all of those things because I don't know how much longer I'll have that luxury. I want to create as much as I can while I still can. You may call it overachieving, but I call it making the most of the time I have left. That's why having an invisible disease is so hard. It's because no one really understands, and some people don't even believe you. People tell me the pain is all in my head, or that I'm just looking for attention, and there's nothing I can say to convince them that it's real. Ehlers-Danlos, like most other chronic pain diseases, is invisible. I don't look sick, so it's easy for people to assume a lot about me, and believe me, they're very open about letting me know exactly what they think about it. If I sit out of a physical activity so that I don't dislocate anything, I'm labeled lazy and antisocial. If I use my handicap parking pass because walking feels like being stabbed by 1,000 knives, I'm labeled selfish and rude. If I use my cane, I'm labeled insensitive and cold. Sometimes it feels like there's just really no winning. If I can do one thing, just one thing, I want to show people what it's really like to live with a chronic pain disease. What it's like to have an invisible sickness that consumes every part of your life, and yet no one believes that you have it. It takes a lot of strength to get up every day and keep going, even when it hurts to breathe or move or blink. For us, the people like me, the silent sufferers, the ones that no one believes, the ones who will live and die with invisible diseases, no one will ever truly understand what we go through, but maybe, just maybe, we can make people more aware. Maybe my story will help someone understand what we go through. Maybe I can make a difference with everything I do, with everything I create. Maybe I can be the voice for every sufferer who couldn't speak. And maybe I can help just one person understand. We don't look sick, but we rise above incredible pain and adversity. We don't look sick, but we've seen more suffering in our short lives than we ever should have. You may think we're weak, but we're stronger than you'll ever know.
Thanks for still being here. Now, at one end of the scale, you've got Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is the easiest condition to claim to have. And on my website, I've used that, which was Dr. Bose. Now, Dr. Bose was basically a looked after medical doctor examination person. And I had a conversation with him on the phone. And he went, well, I can see that you got, and it was a PIP appeal. And he said, well, if you can win that, you can win your children back. And I went, well, what's my winning my children back? I said, can't you just ring them and say you're completely wrong and now you've seen this, you know? And I didn't know about misfeasance and all this stuff at this time. Like I said, I only knew how to stay away from a C-section. I was quite secure. The most annoying thing about 2010 is my life was very comfortable, and the only thing was I wanted to own my own property. And the reason being, and I'm in no different situation now, and that is when you're in council, if you have to have a permanent live-in carer or an au pair or anything like that, they have to go on a tenancy. That's why people don't have them. If you're in private rental, it's the same. It's only when you own your own home and you have the space to occupy can you freely use your space. Council tenancies, if you've got more rooms than you need, you pay a council tax. Private rental, if you choose, even council place, just because somebody's in a council property, please don't assume that all council people are on benefits. In fact, it's completely the opposite way. Like I said, I mean, my dad and both my mum, stepmum, ex-stepmom worked, and my dad ended up buying his. So don't assume a lot of stuff. So, and then some people are in supported. So some people are in like a step 2 independence. They're getting back into the world, they're getting back into the community, and the council have people strategically placed. So I'm with all the old people, I'm with what would be the mental health tick box. So there's people all around us, and they do this all day. But the thing is, I'm in what's called a secure tenancy. So that means basically I can house swap, move around wherever I like, go on things, move to go. I'm not tied to these people. There is no laws that ties me to these people. They're just there if I need them, but they're not there correctly. Now, in this country, if you're in debt or if you're struggling with all your paperwork, we've got what's called breathing space. And that means if it's mental health, you can take a breathing sabbatical to get stuff sorted, get people come in, they'll help you sort something out, right? When you're dealing with bailiffs, they're cunts, right? When you're dealing with debt management, they're lovely, yeah? It's how you communicate with the system. Now, some people don't want to be left in the system. Some people don't want to be in the system. Some people don't necessarily understand what the system is. But at the end of the day, if you got rid of the system, then we would have too many people. Take orphans, just literally take orphans. Now, officially, you could say, okay, if mum and dad has died and you've got a child under 18, then we have what used to be called godparents. They're meant to take those children on. So, okay, if we've got godparents, then we don't need social care. Okay. Now, this is all basis on the fact that both dad and both mum love their children unconditionally, provide all their basic needs for them, can educate them, can guide them, love them, teach them, blah, 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 blah. So we have what's called state education for people that need to give their children what they believe is better opportunities, blah, 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 blah. I don't want to get into all of this at the moment, but when it comes to the education system, people remember what used to be called special needs children, and it was like dyslexia, learning challenges, and then we had what was called special needs schools, yeah? And there were schools for people with autism, there were schools for people with Down syndrome, there were schools for people with high dependency needs. And there was, when it was back to normal mainstream, you'd have a classroom of kids and then you'd have one sitting with a teacher. That was the one that was a special needs person, and they had a fucking hard time. Or they would go out of classroom and go and sit and work with somebody else. Then we've got kids with asthma, yeah? And they spend a lot of time at home. Still, this system hasn't created a system properly for children that are at home, okay? Now, with lockdown, obviously, it taught people I had this equipment a long time ago because I'm a disabled student. So as a disabled student at Lancashire University, where I took my psychology degree, my tutor used to argue with me, though. He said, I'm not giving you your handouts. I want you to sit there and write. The difference with this pen is it's thicker. Now, when I was at school, it was a triangle that you went on. I also have another one. I don't use little biros, but this is pretty much standard for people now. To pick up a pen like this is pretty much standard. And I can doodle, I can write, but I can't write for a long time. Just as typing, can't sit. Do you want to actually see how I'm going? I'm currently just sat. So anyway, I'm going to be working on it as I go because I need to stay focused on it. And the thing that people haven't asked me since I've been here in Portsmouth. Now, the annoying thing is I'm in social housing, yeah? And in order to have social housing, they had to do a 26-week assessment of care of duty. The only reason I got that care of duty was because of having Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and being a high-risk pregnancy. If not, I'd have probably been thrown out on my ass, yeah? Dean, as a separated person from me, don't want to talk about his personal situation, but he hasn't got any tick boxes that would help, and they'll have him with a backpack walking out there for as long as they'd wanted to, basically, until you either pass out, dead coma, and even then, you just get thrown into A&E and put back out on the streets. So I understand how lucky I am, okay? But this jealousy, envy, and things. Say now, I fill this out. I go and get my Motability card just like last time. Out there, people are going to go, no, but my wife's disabled, but I've got this condition, but I've got this. One, yes, it's about knowing how to do it, how to fill it out properly. My mum battered me in the media going, Kellie knows how to screw the system. She even had breast implants done on the system. It's not that simple. It's really not that simple. Or my mum will go, my sister works, I work. It's not about working. Personal independence payments is for whether you work or whether you don't. Having to focus on health is really fucking expensive. But it's, yes, if we live in an upside down world. Yes, the water poisons us. Yes, our food is fucking shit. No, we don't have proper vitamins. And this isn't helping. And we are having generational conditions. But I have to work with where I am right now. The fact is, my knuckles do this. Pray to Jesus, heal me in the morning. Heal me right now. Still doing this, yeah? So I have to work with what I'm dealing with right now. And things like, and I was taking the piss, and it's like, oh, lady of luxury, oh, la, 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 lady. When I was married, I had a very easy pattern. I took the kids to school. I went up to the gym or the leisure centre or whatever you called it. I went straight for the aerobics class. I did it to my own pace. I went at the back. Then I went into the gym. One of the gyms that I went to didn't have a pool. I didn't bother with that. Then I started going to one where I had a pool, where I could go for a sauna, and I could go for lunch with the ladies. Then you go to the shops, then you pick up your bits ready for tea, then you go pick your kids up from school, then you get your tea ready, then you go to all your clubs, then you come home, then you settle your kids, then your babysitter comes in, then you go off to work to do whatever it is that you work and meetings and all that stuff, then you go to sleep, then you start the day again, right? And then I've done the going to university, then I've done going to work. It doesn't work for me. And it doesn't work for me having to deal with going and parking and being in a disabled space, because a disabled space fundamentally is a picture of a wheelchair. So people go, oh, okay, why is this person not in a wheelchair? Then you're dealing with stereotypes. And then you can turn around and go, oh, don't worry about what people think. Don't worry about what people think. Say that to somebody who's got a birthmark or a burn all the way down their side that's walking through the streets and everyone's going, or a child with a cleft. Don't worry about what people think. It's really, really hard to say that. So anyway, I've got to a point where the system really needs me to tick these boxes to make my life easy and stop causing me hassle. So I'm willing to do that. But it won't work for me because someone like me likes to travel in my car and things like that. And I only can do 60,000 miles over the space of 3 years. So it means I get a new car every 3 years, okay? That's only if I hit my doodads, but someone like me does, okay? And I'm not even going to get into the tricks that they pull to separate people like me from the scammers, by the way, but the scammers still get away with it. And the fact that people need to do this is mental health in itself. So put them the mental health label and whatever. But for people that really truly need independence, say take the boys alone. The boys need to swim. It's a must for them. They should have literally come out of my womb and gone swimming from day one. Swimming in the ocean is a must for everybody anyway. Swimming in lakes, natural, is a must for everybody. Swimming in really, really, really cold water it resets the body every day. That's why we should get up in the morning, jump into water, get up, wash your face, get out, yeah? But we've been so reconditioned to do things a different way. Yes, I agree with the common law courts where they said if we didn't have all these systematic ways that had ingrained people so much, then we wouldn't have all this stuff. I get that. But you can't ask people to go, look, the way you've been taught is completely fucking utterly wrong. It's like a social worker coming in. And change is instant, but you've got to support people where they are to help them get to where they need to go to. And someone like me needs the system to basically back off. But I also like the bath being put in. Yeah. Now, having an OT assessment really helps someone like me. And it goes around and it goes things like through my kitchen. And it will go, okay, what would be easier? Now, I've already designed my own home. And this is what set me off going, look, I know how I move. I know how I go. I know how I want to wake up. And Jarek Robbins is Tony Robbins' son, right? And he has this thing called Ideal Day. And I'd worked on this, but you can think Ideal Day, I don't have this condition. Or you can think, how can I best manage this condition to my best capabilities? That one day I hope and truly, truly hope that I wake up to the point that I've managed it, that it no longer feels that I'm living with it, to the point that actually it no longer exists. And I can go within that space. But I have tried and tried, and there's people here that will know. I used to go, oh, whatever condition it is, it doesn't matter what it is. You know, it's just your past thoughts, residuals. I've tried that. You know, and there's so many things, and people go, oh, you must be a really bad person, then you can't really be a Christian because you're sick and everything, and I'll pray for you. It's not as simple as that. Sometimes the Lord needs to see how people treat people, and they send people like me so they can get a really good idea about how other people in institutions, in... No, No, you've really got to go to bed. What's the problem?
Sorry, mate.
What, sorry?
Have some water.
Yes, you can go and get it from the tap yourself now. I'm not moving. Ask Daddy a minute. Just ask Daddy a minute. Don't... Shiloh, Elijah, bed. You can wait until I finish then and I'll wrap up. He's in the middle room. I've given him back the middle room. He's still got all the toys everywhere though, but he's gone to the middle room. I can't think what I was saying. So basically, back in 2010, I didn't say, take all your disability, leave me alone. I said, I choose to pay for my own things, because when you have something called direct payments, you basically employ your own team, but it was all the bits in the middle, and it was the bits where you've got their team coming in and they write notes and everything. But I still wanted my own team coming in, but using my own money, okay? So that's why I thought, well, if I write a book about lost and unlost syndrome and management of it, that pays for everything. So I'm talking things like cleaner, because, say, someone like me, it's easier to have someone come in while I go out. Like I said, when living in hotels was so much easier for me, because me and the kids would literally just get up, get in the shower, or even better, we used to get up, throw our robes on, go down to the swimming pool, have a swim. We wouldn't even have breakfast yet. you know, have a mess around, have a play. Boys would still be able to just play while I got myself ready, go up, chill out, have some breakfast, go out, come back, somebody sorted the bedroom out. Perfect. And we were in a suite at one point. People go, oh, la-di-da, this person's got it. Take Victoria Beckham. You know, people had a go at her because she had 44 staff. And it's like, yeah, but look at how many people, you're either work for a job, so you have an employer, or you are an employer. Somebody like me needs to move forward and step up, so to say, to become an employer. And this is the difference between public and government. I don't work for government, I work for the private sector. Yeah. But you don't work for the private sector until I'm charging people for my time and service. And that's the difficulty with me, because other than setting up a business like what I've done with Family Legal Matters Service, employ the solicitors that will basically take all the cases, deal with all of that. But at the end of the day, I still have to direct that. I still have to manage that. I still have to coordinate that. I still have to be the person that runs the accountant. I still have to be the person that runs the legal team. I still have to be the person that oversees this. A big director, so the director of Step Up Britain, is really lonely. It means you're sitting up until stupid o'clock in the morning working on things. It means that you're working with your personal stuff and seeing how it can relate and help people and how to do this. And maybe actually if I do this, it will be part of it, so I might as well go for it. You know, it means you're waking up really early. It means you're having ideas, putting things down. It means you're always talking about stuff. And that, for me, is everything to do with sort of forced adoption. But then you can say what you focus about, what you bring about, you create, polarity exists. I'll leave those people. It's really negative. So what I've done with my website is I've gone all the way across the top with all of the headings, and I'm going to connect it up. And it's like, I've got to move forward. I've got 3 years to go into all of these things that exist, to go, okay, so what happened with the disability equality? Because this is what I've been through. But in the meantime, I'm doing this, but I'm using this to put together and go, because all of this, anything from the past, paperwork is irrelevant. My green folder, my children's stuff, what I've got to write down is what is the conditions that I've got. They're not interested in a cut and paste from the conditions. They're interested in how does it affect me. And that's what's missing from social reports. They don't ever ask and properly assess how it affects them. They just use cut and paste from the diagnosis. And this is where it just goes. Every single person has a right to independence. And if there is a gap, so if someone's got one leg missing, or they're blind, or they can't hear, there is these functions that exist. But with Facebook, everyone goes, this person's got this thing, this person's got that thing. The Daily Mail sort of took the piss going, oh, it's a sign success. She's got, you know, this property, she's got this, she's got that. But this person doesn't work. She's on benefits. And it's like, okay. And then the radio asked me and they say, are your children proud? And it's like, ugh. And then I've got my mum going, she can't tell golf buddies, like, who is her daughter and what does her daughter do? And it's like, ugh. So it comes back down to, you have to sit in an office at some point because you've got paperwork. Everything is paperwork. Everything is forms. Everything is formalities. Everything comes back down to a diary. It's no different than sitting in a classroom right now, working on a form, sitting down, writing a note. But from where I am right now, like I've got the car boot on Sunday, and I could do this every car boot if I wanted to. But it's whether I have a job, and even if I go into a job, my employer will ask me, do you have any conditions where we have any legal rights to have to make any reasonable adjustments? You know, what's wrong with someone sitting on a different chair? But I choose not to do that. I choose to work from home. I choose to homeschool. When said children's father, I offered all my services right at the beginning anyway, as you know. So, you know, and it would be like a family with a travelling circus. Do you know what I mean? So everybody has a different life. Everybody lives a different way. Everybody is trying to achieve different things. Nobody wants the same things. But I'm going to do this anyway and go through it because I think it's all really important. And it's not disability. It's personal independent payments. But I'm still going to stick with this whole aspect that if you go to the system, it should literally be, okay, where are you now? What can physically be achieved? You can't ask somebody with one arm to be a two-armed person. That's not going to happen. And if somebody has mental health, why do they leave you? And this is what I was basically saying. I'd been in that situation for just over 10 years and I was going, whoa, 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 you're going to bury me again. And every time I was trying to climb out of a situation, they were coming in, making a change. It was like, whoa, I'd nearly got out. You know, I've graduated from university. I've done this, I've done that. And it's like every time I find a way, it's like, boom. So is it designed just to keep us that way? Yes, it's designed to keep us poor. Yes, they don't want people like me making it out and going, look, this is how you do it. Yeah, so go and do it for yourself anyway, even if I don't ever make it. One of us is going to make it. You know, one of us will. So anyway, over the next sort of week, Sunday, I'm doing a car boot and I'm doing a full-blown fundraiser. The reason I'm doing this is because it's the end of a financial year and I want to make sure that for the new financial year that I'm in a better situation. I've got the bath being fitted. Woo-hoo-hoo. That means they probably won't look for a managed move if they can apply for the bathroom. But it will make an exchange much easier. And I've got a few people that have already gone. I'm in London. I'd love to go to Portsmouth for a bit. We'll even exchange back after summer if you want. I'm up for that. Hang on 2 seconds. I'm also going to be doing some other stuff that's directly just relatable to Aaron and Faith. But my outcome for all of this by the end of it is a direct payments for the health and care plan of Elijah and Shiloh. So that will include their tutors for their maths, English and science and PE and anything that is ultimately their true passions. And they will also have, obviously, their general practitioner and their physio. And we were talking about chiropractor and any pain management and any sort of psychological help that they need along the way with dealing with this. And that will all be paid for through their direct payments. But rather than it being done via just the system where you just have to get to see anybody, it means that we pay directly to the people that we choose to build within that team. And it works. But when you've got people looking in on your life, it's a bit difficult because there's always going to be somebody that goes blah, 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 blah. And when I first went out in the media, that was really difficult. And I'm not willing to allow that to happen to me. Just with the people who've got my website, I'm not willing to allow that to happen to me again. People like that cause for people to commit suicide. I'm not willing to allow for these people to cause me to commit suicide because I've got my own battles and I've got the boys, and Aaron and Faith need to know the truth, and that's what keeps me alive, that every day is a day that they don't know the truth, and I don't want them growing up thinking that they weren't loved, they weren't wanted, they weren't needed. They were. And I believe that there's another Christmas coming. However I feel about Christmases, I still need these things. We've got Easter, whatever you think about these things. But there's still a time for family for me, and I still want to move forward to all of that. So, and it will save me £142 on my car insurance. No more MOTs. Car tax, all I've got to pay for is the petrol. It seems ridiculous when you're entitled, but it's this word entitled, isn't it? So anyway, I'm going to sit here and jot this down because otherwise I get distracted. And while I've got the laptop as well, I'm going to come on later and I'm not going to write them down because it's a waste of my hands and writing for them. But I will sit there with it and answer the questions directly. And if they want to come on and actually come on my live, I can see if they're brave enough. I'm talking about the person who's got the website in my name. If they're brave enough, they can come onto my live and actually ask me direct. But I will go onto their website and personally answer any of their questions because it will help me preempt anything that the courts might ask, anything that these people might ask. The problem is you've got to not bypass the social worker. So I've got to do it all again. But the right way this time. Not because they're going, EDS is the easy condition to claim to have, or because I'm talking about lockdown and going, she's got mental health, or because people have phoned in and caused issues for me, which is predominantly what it's actually been. And then I've been in reaction to them coming to talk to me about the allegations that they've had phoned in. And I don't like it because it traumatises me, because this has previously led to children being forced adopted. And you've seen the evidence, so make your own decision. Listen to their website or join on mine. And if you join on mine, I'm going to be building it back into Step Up Britain. No, I'm not a white supremacy, single, fucking, whatever, white wing, lesbian, feminist, Nazi. None of that. I just believe that people with physical conditions should have a right to skate, to dance, yeah? And it doesn't matter if it's 15 seconds and you burn out for 3 weeks. We have a right to manage our condition the right way for us. And the services is meant to be there to take us through that adversary, not tell us, whoa, whoa, whoa. And it's not just about them lying and making things up. It's about the fact that they use tick boxes and cut and pastes and education from books. And they don't really have the life experience. And there's other protocols and other things available that people don't know. But do we need all of this? Not if we had family. But what happens if someone gets sick? You know, how does somebody get support? Should the husband take time off to look after his wife and his kids? Should mother? Should they be at school and work anyway? Should we just be part of life? So anyway, I want to focus on my health. As you saw from the video, it is an incurable condition. There is no cure. It's hard to live with. I battle it every day. And I want the boys to not feel that they're failing because they're trying to achieve something that their body may ever not do. And it's not witchy, it's not negative. It's not even acceptance either. It's just building people around that if your knee pops out, you just don't need the drama off people. It's popped out. There's nothing I can do about it. I can keep praying that Jesus or healing or health, that it might not do it, but the chances that it's going to do it again is pretty high. And I have a right to the medical treatment that is available. And even if said the Neuralink was a possibility for somebody like me, one of the other EDS mums said something. She said that we're going to watch people all get the cure for our condition, but we're going to end up being the ones on the outside that still got to live with it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that. I don't know actually if I would stand on the outside if I could genuinely have a day pain-free for the rest of my life here, even as a Christian. That's a really hard decision to make. That would be really difficult. So anyway, I've rambled on. Whatever you're doing, have a great life. Make the most of it. Make your own schedule, your own plans, your own times. Live by the season. And, you know, I've got to do the boys' timetable and I'm starting it by season. So just ask yourself, what do you like doing through the summer? What do you enjoy about the winter? What's the really cool thing about the winter? We live in a country that goes, oh no, the snow's here. What if it didn't? What if it went, yeah, people, quick, the snow's here, get your sledges out. They don't do that, and maybe they should. In the autumn, what you love. I don't know if I'm going to be travelling so much until this vaccination stuff is sorted and other stuff is sorted, because at the moment, this is all about sweeping. We're under NATO. We're under Davos. But there's people here in Great Britain that understand that. So my land will never be mine, but I would still rather have a gate and live in my house. And as much as a community, and I help my community, I want my kids to have their own garden. I want people to come to my house and be able to stay. And if Aaron and Faith ever knock on my door, mate, I want to be able to go, yeah, that's your room. Go. Put your bags down. Go. Have a bath, shower, do whatever you got to do. I see you in the kitchen. Same for Liam. Same for Daniel. Same for Dean's kids. For their Elijah and Shiloh's brothers and sisters. Anyway, before I go, what first question am I going to be pondering on? Oh, seriously, I hate these things. Oh, I hate these things. How your health condition or disability affects your day-to-day life. Personal independence payment is assessed on how your condition affects you, not the condition itself. Tell us in the rest of this form how your health condition or disability affects your day-to-day life. My back is burning right now. Daily activities, preparing food. This means making a simple one-course meal for one. This includes peeling, chopping ingredients, opening tins, looking for heating. Use opening tins. Some people can't use tin openers, but they can use an electric one. And this is the difference in life, isn't it? So anyway, I got all this to do. There are advocates, and what I might actually do is see if I can find and force. In fact, I've got an idea. EDS UK, time for you to get some advocates for this stuff.